All right, we are go for launch.
Good evening and welcome to the December 6th, 2023 meeting of Henrietta Town Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek?
Here.
Councilmember Bolsner?
Here.
Councilmember Page?
Here.
Councilmember Belanca?
Here.
Supervisor Schultz?
Here. We'll begin the meeting with a silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd just like to make an opening statement. As with every public meeting, we will have an opportunity for public comment. If you would like to make a comment during the public comment portion, raise your hand, come forward. If you wish to comment on a particular subject, you will have an opportunity to do so at that time, but the comment must pertain to the subject at hand. Again, at the end of the resolutions, there's a time for comment on anything the matter with respect to the town. Any public comment should not identify specific town employees or use profanity. The board will listen to all comments, but may not be able to immediately respond. If necessary, the board will gather information, consult with the appropriate town officials to ensure an accurate response. If your comment requires follow-up, the appropriate town official or board member will do so as long as you provide your contact information. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the preceding meeting?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 15th, 2023 regular town board meeting.
I will second. Discussion? Hearing no comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranek?
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca?
Abstain.
Supervisor Schultz?
Aye. We will start the meeting with 3 resolutions. Can I get my first resolution?
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25402, 2023. Whereas the Genesee Valley Recreation and Park Society Outstanding Service Award is given to an individual that has made outstanding contributions to enrich the lives of individuals or groups of individuals in their community. And whereas the 2023 Outstanding Service Award recipient is Henrietta Senior Center Director Shelley Gorneau. Therefore, it be resolved that the Henrietta Town Board congratulates Shelley Gorneau on receiving this award and thanks her for all she does for Henrietta seniors.
Second.
Let's see Shelley.
No, Shelley was not able to make it. I just want to make sure we have gotta get the ones in the right order. I'll start by saying, it's been absolute pleasure working with Shelley in the 6 years I've been in office, and actually met her before that. Our senior center is one of the best runs in the county and probably beyond that. Her and her team just put in countless hours, try to get everything running as smoothly as possible, reach out and our advocates for our seniors. And, we constantly try to bring in things like we had tried something new. We did a housing fair where we had representatives from both current senior housing communities as well as those that are in development come to the senior center to present what they had available and to talk to seniors to answer questions about the project. So couldn't be more deserving. So grateful for Shelley being on our staff.
Shelley really exemplifies excellence in service, especially to the seniors here. And, you know, I think I hear from so many people that just love the work that she does and how much she truly cares about everyone that's over there. So this is really deserving.
I agree. I actually graduated high school with Shelley, so I've known her for quite a while. And she's always been great. And what she brings to the senior center, talking to different seniors, she makes it feel like a home environment and they all just love it. And it's just amazing that we have that in our community. And Shelley is such an incredible asset to the community.
Everywhere you go, our seniors praise her. She's created a second family for our senior citizens in that building, and I don't know what they do without it. She's really an outstanding leader.
Is there any comments that anyone wishes to add from the audience? As I said, unfortunately, Shelley was not able to be here to receive her award, but again, so these awards were presented at the from the Genesee Valley Recreation Park Society. But we wanted to second those awards as a town board. So hearing and seeing no further comment, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-403, 2023. Whereas the Genesee Valley Recreation and Park Society Distinguished Citizen Award recognizes a citizen, board member, or volunteer who has demonstrated exceptional efforts towards supporting and enhancing parks and recreation in their community. And whereas the 2023 Distinguished Service Citizen Award recipient is Henrietta Parks and Recreation Advisory Board Chairman and President of the Rush Henrietta Athletic Association, Mr. Gary Junge. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board congratulates Gary Junge on earning this award and thanks him for his many years of service.
Second. So I think I first met Gary when my kids were in Little League. Although it's possible I met him through the Legion or other places as well. It's been very active. I was astounded to learn how long he's been on the Park and Rec Advisory Board and been chairman. It's got to be pushing 40 years now, right? Yeah, so I mean, that's just amazing. And especially when you consider so much of what he does is unpaid and just helps out the community. And then he also in more recent years has taken on the unenviable role of being the chair of our Board of Assessment Review, where, as you can imagine, a lot of people come in angry, and it's not like it was Gary's decision as to how their houses were assessed, but he and his team listened to all of those complaints and address them. And as I mentioned, he's also very active in the Legion, usually during any of the cookouts or the meals or that type of stuff. You'll see him there. Just astounding level of community service. Again, another really deserving award recipient, and someone who I'm glad to have gotten to know over the years.
Gary, you're such an example of how to give back to a community. It's just amazing. I mean, everything you do, and you don't earn anything for doing it. It's just your good heart, and your family is so kind to let you do all of those things. And we're so appreciative again that you're part of our community and that you've given back as much as you have and that you continue to give back. And we're just so incredibly grateful for everything that you do. And you are so deserving of this award.
One of the most outstanding community servants I've ever seen. Over time, Gary gives back to you know, our veterans, all the way down to our beginning children in athletics. So many kids have started with the RHAA, and it's just unbelievable. I use him as an example of giving back to my students for years, and he continues to keep going. Maybe get a job with the Energizer Buddy when he gets tired.
Anybody wish to add comment from the public? Then hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Want to come up and receive your award?
I will do the picture. Congratulations. Oh, yes. And yes. Fantastic.
Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-404, 2023. Whereas the Genesee Valley Recreation Park Society Outstanding Corporate Partnership Award recognizes a vendor, company, or individual who has significantly contributed to the field of parks and recreation and developed a strong partnership with a local agency. And whereas the 2023 Outstanding Corporate Partnership Award recipient is JoJo's Cool Bus, owned by Joanne and Brian White. Therefore, be it resolved that the Henrietta Town Board congratulates Joanne and Brian White on earning this award and thanks them for their dedication to the Henrietta community.
Seconded.
So, you know, again, the amount of effort that this couple puts into serving the community, whenever we have a need, they're always there, happy to help. During COVID especially, they were there. We had a number of, I'll call it unusual events for our Youth Hall of Fame recipients because we couldn't do the normal larger reception. And they were there with treats for everyone. When we did our multicultural events, they were there for treats. You know, it's kind of become standard. When we go, people are looking for the JoJo's Cool Bus. It's you know, again, I don't think it's coincidence that we took home 3 of the prizes in this, or 3 of the awards at this event, because we have a lot of great people in this town willing to put forth their time and money to help the town. And these are just the latest examples.
Yeah, I think it's so neat. Every time I see you at a function, I feel like a little kid again. It's like go up and get my ice cream. I remember them coming through the neighborhood, and it's just such an incredible concept. Thank you so much for everything you do. It just puts a smile on everybody's face when they see you.
I just think about there was a year there when I was helping to organize the Pride event, and it was a little bit of a last minute organization, and JoJo's Cool Bus was stepped up and was able to be here and provide treats for all our participants. So just really appreciate always being out there, always serving the community, and all members of the community appreciate that.
Anybody wish to add any further comments?
Yeah.
Pam Grunman, Director of Parks and Recreation. I just wanted to say, you know, for me and for the whole staff, that we're very fortunate to work with these 3 people, to learn from their examples. especially our younger staff, learning from Shelley and Jerry. And they make our jobs easier, and we're very, very fortunate to have them as part of our team.
Here. So hearing and seeing no further comments, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Would you like to come up for a picture?
Thank you.
Unfortunately, the rest of the agenda isn't as fun. First up, for our public hearings, we have special use permit application number 2023-039, Durham Realty LLC, 324 Jefferson Road, to operate a retail cannabis store. This hearing is a continuation from the last meeting. You please introduce yourself and your relationship to the project.
Yes, I'm Paul Veely. I'm the building owner. I brought with me Mike Ritadero. He's the tenant. And the business owner.
And thank you for sending the updated materials.
Yep.
If you want to just talk a little bit about the plan, and we'll go from there.
Well, I'll turn that over to Mike because he wrote the plan.
So the plan is to operate a retail.
Could you just move a little closer for the mic so we do minutes, transcribe
The
minutes?
plan is to just operate a retail cannabis dispensary out of 324 Jefferson Road.
In terms of just talk a little bit about how you're gonna. So you're not planning to have any type of curbside pickup or anything like that. It's just parking lot, and so the service will all be indoors. Are you gonna have security cameras to monitor the parking lot?
Yes, so we'll have 8 cameras outside and 14 cameras on the inside.
Excellent. And then I assume some form of safe, because, unfortunately for those who aren't aware, because of the current legal or illegal status of cannabis at the federal level, there are a number of issues from a banking standpoint that often cause them to be largely cash transactions. So,
Yeah, so we plan on having a safe in our security room that would be bolted to the floor, and then have scheduled pickups from a courier service.
great. And I saw that you had like a queuing area for customers both inside and overflow outside. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yep, that would be wrapping around the building over near where the employee parking would be, away from the traffic of the property itself.
And I know I'm a business or two behind, but this is the old Daily Trailers
Right.
building? Yep,
Yep.
okay. Yeah, so there really isn't any business that largely caters to children anywhere near. The closest you would have is the Altitude Trampoline, which is
Trampoline park.
a good distance down the road.
Right.
Yep. Most of my questions were answered by the material you guys submitted. I don't know if others have any questions.
In terms of marketing, I mean, I believe the location's fairly close to RIT.
Yeah,
Okay, I just, there is no proximity to young people, but sometimes college students are underage, and just, staying on top of those kinds of verifications and all
Yeah.
of that sort of thing.
yeah. So we plan on having it right when you enter the building. We plan on having a security guard there to check identifications and confirm that people are over 21 years old.
Okay, so not even allowing them into the building if they're.
They
under
can come
21.
into like the main vestibule
Uh-huh.
area, but getting beyond there wouldn't be possible until their identification has been confirmed.
Okay, great. And you said a security guard?
Yeah, so we're budgeting for a security guard
Okay,
during all hours of operation.
great. And just the one there in the front?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Do we have any questions from the public? Raise your hand if you wish to speak or stand up. Do we have anything online? So then, hearing and seeing no further comment, I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2023-039. Can I get a resolution?
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-405, 2023 to approve special use permit application number 2023-039 for a retail cannabis dispensary at 324 Jefferson Road.
A second.
So I'm going to just read to you the conditions that are placed on this approval. I won't bother reading the whole resolution though, just the conditions. Prior to operating the dispensary, the applicant obtained all necessary government approvals to operate said retail cannabis dispensary, including an adult use cannabis retail dispensary license from the New York State Office of Cannabis Management. 2, the dispensary shall be operated in accordance with all applicable laws, rules, and regulations. 3, that all cannabis sale activity shall take place within the interior of the building. No sales may occur outside, under tents, or under a portico or similar physical structure. 4, that on-site consumption of cannabis products, either in-store or on-site, such as in the parking lot or adjacent areas, is prohibited, and that diligence is expected from the operation to prevent this from occurring. Note specifically that on-site consumption sites are not permitted in the town of Henrietta. The failure to prohibit, protect against those improperly consuming cannabis products in store or on site may result in the revocation of the special use permit by the town board. Number 5, the operation exercises diligence with respect to child-proof containers, packaging that does not entice children, buyer identification procedures, monitoring the facility inside and out, the use of safe and other cash handling protocols, and other procedures and protocols to ensure the legal sale of cannabis products and to help prevent the cannabis products from falling into the hands of minors. The failure to maintain adequate safeguards or a material departure from what was presented to the town board during the application process may result in the revocation of this special use permit by the town board. You good with those conditions?
Yes.
All right. Do we have any further comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Congratulations. I will notify the Office of Cannabis Management that you did receive a special use permit for this location. So that I don't know if you've received a provisional license yet, but it would allow it to move to a full license if they decide.
Thank you.
All their paperwork is submitted to the state.
Yeah, I don't know what their turnaround time is. It's been getting better, but it's still a lot.
We don't know either.
Yeah. I will just say, based on the number of applications we received in the town of Henrietta alone, I'm sure they've gotten a lot. So, thank you. If you do get your operation and you're ready to open, you can contact me at supervisor@henrietta.org and I can put you in touch with the Henrietta Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Page, your former neighbor Nancy Ann says hello.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm talking to her today.
Thank you.
Our next public hearing is for special use permit application number 2023-040, Hempsole CBD, 1425 Jefferson Road, to operate a retail cannabis store. Please introduce yourself and your relationship to the project.
Good evening, board. My name is Benjamin Wortman. I am the operations manager for the business. I was here at the November 15th.
So again, thank you for the packet you sent in, detailing the layout and the operational concerns and protocols. Do you have anything you'd like to add with regards to what you sent us?
Not at this time. Just looking for more questions and from you guys. I did want to say a thanks to Jenny for helping me out through the process. She was very helpful.
So again, similar thing, your plan is to have all consumption in store.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll have more security cameras added as per the state with exterior cameras pending licensure. Same kind of thing, cash handling with a safe 550 pounds, 1 hour fire rating as per New York State regulations. And then our on-site security as well as the staff will be properly trained on, vigilance and things around the perimeter of the building, as you guys have brought up, because we are part of a multi-business plaza and we want to make
Right.
sure that other businesses aren't affected by anyone, consuming outside of our walls.
Right.
Yes.
Will the CBD portion still be operating?
We can still operate CBD sales while being a dispensary, as far as I am aware.
Is
With
it
New
the
York State.
same interior or is it a separate? It looked like there were two suites. I wasn't sure if you were going to combine them or they were going to.
Correct. So on that drawing, the sales floor, that will be where all sales happen. The right side suite is pretty much offices and our security room. So it's more administrative on that side. And they will be blocked off with locking doors to prevent any customer interaction.
So is the CBD portion 21 and older or?
Correct.
Okay.
Always has been. Mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed that you have a conference room.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure that there's not going to be any consumption on site.
No,
The purpose of this conference room is just for staff.
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Business meetings, meeting with OCM members when they come in, things like that. So we're off the sales floor.
Okay,
Correct. New York State actually doesn't allow consumption by employees or anything on site. So
and can you walk us through the process that you would use for verifying?
yeah, like I said, we're gonna have to have higher security on our entrance. So he will be, confirming IDs at that instance, but also we're gonna train our bud tenders to double check IDs at the counter as well. And then when you leave, you're going to be exiting with an exit bag, not required by New York State, but that's what we're going to do. So that way your product is, taken out and not immediately consumed.
What, just for my own knowledge, what's an exit bag?
Oh, it's just
It's like a
another
seal?
packaging, usually with like the branding on it or something that's sealed to, take out. So if you have, children in the car and it slips in the seat, they can't immediately get to it.
Okay.
Other
And-
states have that requirement.
Okay,
Mhm.
fantastic. And you're just gonna have the one security guard?
Security staffing is still in discussion, but at
Okay.
least one for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then cash handling with courier drops as well. Mhm.
Right, and I'm not, did you have a vault or something along those lines?
Yeah, we're gonna
As
have a safe 550 pounds,
Okay.
1 hour fire rating per New York State regulations. Correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
great, thank you.
Absolutely.
I'd like to ask either one of the applicants, and you may not know the answer, is there a limit to the number of licenses that they might permit here in Lake Henrietta, New York? Do you know how the numbers work?
Not specifically to that. I do know they were looking to open 1,000 statewide. It's been segmented into regions of New York State, and I think they're kind of doing
By
a
region?
population-based spread on that, but I don't have an official number for you.
Thank you.
I do know Rick, and again, their rules change
Mhm.
often without notice. But in originally discussion, there was not a plan that they were gonna have certain spacing between stores as well, so
Yeah, I think it's
1,000.
depending on population, 1,000 to 2,000.
Yeah, something like that. So, when we look at so we do have one store that has received full licensure, and that's MJ Dispensary in the Genesee Valley Regional Market.
Mhm.
That's sort of in the center of town on Jefferson Road. This application is essentially on the eastern side and the other application was on the western side. So they are fairly spread out. It's been interesting. It looks like the applicants have been paying good attention. I've yet to see an application that's come in that didn't meet the zoning rules as we put them forth. So that's been encouraging, but
We're trying everything we can.
yeah. Any other questions, comments from the town board? Do you have any questions or comments from the public? Do we have anything online? And hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. I guess I should have mentioned this public hearing was also continued from the previous meeting. But I'm going to close the public hearing for special use permit application number 2023-040. Can I get a resolution? Yeah, no, it's, we have to scroll past all the material.
Yeah. Oops, hold on.
Tried to be thorough.
Right back in there. I think I'm there. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I am not.
Here, okay.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 25-406, 2023 to approve special use permit application number 2023-040 for a retail cannabis dispensary at 1425 Jefferson Road, Suite 2.
Seconded.
So the conditions are actually the same.
Yep, I was looking.
So you were listening, okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
I won't waste our time repeating them. Like I said, again, that includes if you don't follow the rules, you could potentially lose the license through OCM, or you could lose a special use permit from the town.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, any further comments? And hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So I know you have my email, but like I
sir.
said, if you guys get approved, that's one of the interesting things. They send us a lot of other notifications, but we don't get notifications if someone gets their full licensure, or we haven't yet,
Gotcha.
unless they've sent it via mail. But anyway, feel free to contact me and we can put you in touch with the Chamber of Commerce to do a ribbon cutting if you're interested.
Right on. Appreciate that very much.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I have public hearing for the special use permit application number 2023-042 Green Spark Solar, Tobin Henrietta Solar LLC, 55 Tobin Road, to construct and operate a 3 megawatt AC solar energy system. Initially, it was through incentive zoning. This is also a continuation special use permit. In discussion with the applicant, we did not believe this was appropriate for incentive zoning, as this was an active farm. And the original large-scale solar program was put in place as part of our farmland protection. And I know that may sound semi-contradictory, but the program basically allows an active farm to put solar array on a portion of the active farm and preserve essentially 3x of the remainder of the farm. One of the things we're looking at doing, rather than handle this through incentive zoning, we've looked at what makes more sense is to update the plan, that if there isn't enough location on the current active farm, if they can find another farmer willing to put an agricultural easement on 4x the acreage, then that would be acceptable too. So as such, I will announce in a minute that the incentive zoning application has been withdrawn, and we're going to do this through the modified plan or law. As such, we will not be acting on this tonight. But if you've come here to talk about it, we have the representatives here to answer questions. So with that preamble done, introduce yourself and your relationships to the projects.
Hi, thanks for having us back again. My name is Mia Morgillo. I work as a solar developer for Green Spark Solar. I'm joined by Matthew Vanderbrook, who is our Director of Commercial Operations. I did want to note that we have made a couple of changes and updates to Tobin Road. I was able to go out with Kathy and Jim McGowan, and they were nice enough to show me around the trees that they did have concern about. They are on their property and they are in the stream and not in our clearance area. However, they were still marked just as a precaution. We do plan on any oak trees that are set for removal. We will replace at a 1-to-1 ratio, filling in any gaps in the vegetation to the north of the array. That way we can clear the concern of other neighbors and be able to replenish those trees.
If there's others that, depending on the age of the tree, if they're a bit older, if you were able to do it, I'd rather see that at a 2-to-1.
Okay,
Because let's face it, a young oak tree doesn't replace an old oak tree.
right, absolutely.
Other questions, comments? Do we have any comments from the public?
I do have a hand raised in our virtual audience.
I do have somebody standing up here so I will take yep, come on up. I'll take the in-room first and then we'll go virtual.
My name is Andrew Dinsmore. I live at 31 Tobin Road. My biggest concerns is I have a feeling that I'm going to be seeing this and hearing it. It abuts a bunch of my property. Most of the stuff I was going to talk about is incentive zoning because like it doesn't seem to meet any of the requirements I look at here. I measured out their farmland on GIS. They're at 15.5 acres of what they're actually farming. So they're removing that out of the farm system. This is the same farmer that leases from me, leases from them. And like, it's already planted with winter wheat, but they didn't plant theirs. It's like, that's my biggest concern. You're losing farmland. And I'm afraid I'm gonna have to see it and listen to it.
Right. So, I mean, I will note that we don't have the ability to force farmers to stay farming. People are allowed to develop land and to do other stuff. With this particular use, it's typical, it's one that we had reserved for active farms and that there be a agricultural easement placed on other farms to help preserve farms. So it would be a 4-to-1 ratio in this aspect because the farm itself isn't big enough to support both an array and the land to preserve it.
Right.
And so again, as part of a requirement, they will need to produce that other farm that is willing to put the conservation easement. So it's roughly 60 acres that they would have to preserve.
Right.
So yes, we're losing 15 acres to solar array, but we're preserving 60 acres. So
it just seems to me like there'd be more unutilized land or not farmable land that's out there.
You'd be surprised. There isn't a whole lot. There is one large parcel, which, oh, by the way, they are developing that one they're doing through incentive zoning because we're not losing any farmland.
Right.
But in terms of when we look at that, there are not a lot of large fields left in Henrietta. A lot of the farmers have moved out because there are only small fields. And there are still some families who continue to farm, the folks who farm those areas. In a lot of cases, the people who own the property are not the ones actually farming. It's somebody else
Right.
who
No, I understand.
runs it. Right. So we did check to make sure that if this was taken off the table, would it affect their farming the other properties? And the farmer said, no, it would not. He would continue to farm the other properties. So because that would have been a concern if we took this off the table and he then walked away because it wasn't, in other words, it crossed a threshold and it wasn't enough acreage, contiguous acreage to make it worthwhile for him. But he said that's not the case. So
Right.
I understand your concerns. One of the things I will say based off of feedback from Charlie Ramelt is if you do have a noisy transformer, let them know because it generally, it means there's a problem. When he first had the thing installed, the generators were generating a lot of noise. He mentioned that to them. They said that shouldn't be the case. There should be a hum, but not loud. They went out there, they replaced the defective transformer and
He says he can still hear it though. And he said he's almost a mile away from it.
I just spoke to him. I spoke to him and he said, you're referring, he could hear it when it first went in, that he could hear the defective one. If you're out at the site, you're going to hear it, but he can't hear it from his home.
I mean, because the way I'm measuring, this transformer is going to be about 450 feet from my property line and 1,000 feet from my back door.
Yeah, so he
Straight line.
said he cannot, again, the one he could hear from his home was the defective one.
Right.
Having been out there on multiple occasions, the hum isn't that noticeable. The thing I noticed is when they would tilt,
That was the next
you
thing.
would hear, it reminded me of ships creaking in the dock. Is what it sounded an awful lot like, but it was periodic and it was not that loud.
Right, but it's just, he says he can hear it. And like I said, it's a straight shot to my door. By 600 feet.
I can hear the throughway constantly. I
Well,
hear
you
the
built your
traffic
house on
in
the
front of
freeway.
my house.
I didn't build my house next to a solar farm.
Right, understood. Cooper Vision built near my house. I could hear them all the time. It's unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. I get it. The noise that those generate does not constitute a nuisance. You know, if it does,
The hunting's another issue.
if it does constitute a nuisance, let them know because it means that there's something wrong.
If I may, I believe that you had discussed what the decibel level was before.
Right, like in the around 60 decibels is sort of when you're standing next to.
When you're standing next to it.
Sort of, so what we do is we locate the major equipment, so the transformers are located sort of within the middle of the array. And then I would just say on the trackers, they have made some progress over the years of making them quieter. So this is this isn't the same technology as Vermelt. So this is ATI, which is sort of a leader in it. And their machines, their motors are quite a bit quieter than sort of Vermelt. But obviously, you know, it's something that we will maintain and monitor and make sure.
I mean,
And for those who aren't aware of the decibel levels, could you give some examples of other things at 60
Yeah.
decibels?
Yeah, 60 decibels is like the sound in just like in an office, like a quiet office or in a library, like it's pretty quiet. So, you know, a lawnmower is 120 decibels. So we're well below that threshold. And right as you go out, this sound's gonna dissipate.
And if I remember right, you said the max elevation would be 20 feet off the ground.
Yeah, they shouldn't even be that high because we're single row tractors. So I think 20, don't believe it's at 20.
I think 20 is what
18.
code sets as the
Right,
maximum.
because that's another concern. I mean, from my back porch to that opening's gotta be a 20-foot drop.
Is
in
there,
elevation.
is
I
there,
don't hold me to that. I'm just guessing. But
Right.
it's a major drop to that back. corner.
is there an area where there could be some vegetative buffer added to help with regards to that?
That was what we originally planned for the relocation of the trees, was for that buffer to fill in that gap for you.
Do you plan on taking the trees out that are in the border between
No.
them?
No.
No, those will all remain. You'll still have that full buffer.
Will your fence line be within tree falling distance? Because there's a lot of dead ash. It's gonna happen.
A lot of dead ash back there, yeah.
Yeah, there will be a bit of the fallen tree removal, just for safety reasons, but other than that, we feel pretty secure in our clearance decision.
Because if a tree falls off my hedgerow onto your fence, am I liable?
No, but we can, we'll
I-
circle back with you.
I mean, the setback requirements for the fence,
It's 50 foot off
Yeah.
the property line,
right? So my point is, I thought it was even higher than that.
50.
Is it only 50?
I believe.
Thought it was 100.
I'm
The
sure
fence
that we
line is
are
50 foot, I think, on your plan.
compliant. We'll just go grab our plans now, but did you want me to put them up on an easel for everyone?
Yeah. that'd be
Sure.
great.
That'd be great. I'm just gonna, whoops. Well, wrong button. I've got to get to the,
I would like to state too, this isn't personal. We're still friends, even if this happens or doesn't. I know you might feel different.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
no,
Yep.
that's good. Yeah, we've got our,
Our fence is, it's 50 foot off the property.
That's what I said.
What about the arrays themselves?
The arrays themselves are, because we're set back 20 feet from the fence.
Right.
So I'd say. Property. Where the array begins. Give or take.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a huge gap in here. You guys are probably-
Yeah, and that's where we're planning to put in those, if we take down those trees to plan.
I just wanted to ask, because I know that through insurance reasons, if a tree falls off of mine on somebody else's property, it's dead ash, they don't cover it because it's considered my property.
Yeah, yeah. We can get you an answer. I don't have a distinct answer right now. It really.
Are any of those taller than 50 feet?
Oh, I'm sure. Maybe not. I don't know. There's gotta be a couple.
Mark and Linda had the same question about the trees on that property, sort of what happens there. So that's something we recognize the ash trees back there are.
Which direction are you from the property? North, south, east, west?
I'm the 24 acre lot to the north.
The north? Okay, I see it. Yep.
But yeah, bottom line is I just don't believe in taking acreage out of farming to put solar there. It doesn't make sense to me, but you know, I believe they should be able to do what they want with their land, but just stick within the confines of what you guys set up as zoning.
So just curious, so you'd be better off with houses there?
You can, it's a 5 acre building lot. And that's why I built there, for that
Mhm.
reason.
Do you have water and sewer?
Yep, no sewer, water and gas. Cause I actually split my 24 acres, I put a 5 acre lot to the north,
Right,
so when my kids want to build down the road, they can.
gotcha.
But that was the main reason I bought that. It had water, gas, I could hunt it, farm it, raise my family.
Okay,
Those are my concerns.
duly noted.
So when will this come up again? Will we get notified with letters? again, or-
It will, I don't know if we resend letters, but it's at the December 20th meeting.
So the December 20th, this will be decided on?
Potentially, yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go first to the online and then we'll come back inside.
All right,
Online,
I have Peter with a hand raised.
Yes, this is Peter Collins. And I have two comments that apply really to all three of the proposed solar projects. First, I want to say that I believe that renewable energy such as these solar arrays is very important to reduce the increasing effects of climate change. Now, I know that the town role is seen more as preventing or mitigating impacts to town residents, but I hope the town board also keeps in mind that solar arrays also reduce harm to the overall US and world population. So that's my first comment. Secondly, and more specifically, I'd like to address the question of visual impacts, which I think particularly came up on the Tobin Road project. I happen to like the look of solar panels because I know what they accomplish, but I understand that not everybody likes that look. But my impression talking to people is that one thing that people like even less than looking at a solar field would be looking at large, high voltage transmission lines on towers. And the fact is, the need for electricity in Henrietta is growing, both because the town is growing and also people are gradually shifting from fossil fuel uses to electricity, whether it's for environmental reasons or health reasons or economic reasons. So if we need more electricity, either we make it locally or we bring it in. And if we bring it in, that means more high voltage transmission lines, which have a visual impact that people don't like. Solar arrays produce the most power. They're most productive on sunny summer afternoons, which is exactly when the grid is experiencing peak load. So having a solar array reduces that need for a transmission line for a potentially ugly transmission line to address the peak loads on those summer sunny afternoons. So if anything, you could argue that solar arrays reduce local visual impacts. So I would just like the town board to keep in mind the bigger pictures. I know you also need to address local impacts and that makes sense. But the bigger picture is important. And I did like the idea that I know came up that maybe we could look at, in addition to preserving agricultural land, maybe we could look at enabling solar on some nonprofit properties or other places. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Oh.
Hi, Jim McGowan from 143 Reeves Road. First, I'd like to thank Mia for coming out and addressing our concerns about the trees. One thing I still have a concern about, which you weren't sure of, is elevation changes. If there's going to be any elevation changes down here in the lower end where you're taking out all those trees. Because that is basically the low spot of this project, I believe.
So right now generally speaking, we have not identified the need to change any of the elevation on those sites. We've not done a complete grading plan. That's typically something that we have to work with the racking manufacturer with as we go forward. So right now, the intention is to not make those changes. So, and we're working on it with our engineers as well. So to identify, so there's no additional issues related to runoff or anything from this project.
Yeah, and also it's the visual too, if you're raising them higher and higher than our property, then they're going to stand out more and more when we walk to the back of our property.
Okay.
And other than that, I also share Andy's concern about other locations, that maybe there's, better locations for these solar farms than eating up what little open space the town does have right now. As you say, houses, like Andy said, you could put 2 houses on that piece of property. That'd be a far less visual impact than hundreds of solar panels.
Yeah, I understand, but I don't know where you're going to put solar panels other than open space. Some have gone up on rooftops, but we don't have massive buildings where I can put a large scale solar array across the roof. So I don't
know, but even along,
people don't want it in their backyard, but I'm not clear where this other place is.
Right.
I'm open to suggestions.
Well, the other locations they're choosing seem to be less of an impact to most neighbors than plopping it into the middle of a 5-acre zoning parcel.
So the only reason that one, the other location is not a farm is because sometime back they converted it from a farm to a golf course.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be a farm. Where your house is, used to be farm. Where my house is, used to be farm.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everybody's house in this town used to be farm. So
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I understand. And again, part of the idea of this is if we're going to allow this use, we want to see farmland preserved, which we're doing. Again, we don't have a means to compel farmers to do it, but you can do it through incentive. That's the idea of this type of stuff. So, between this and the Genesee Land Trust and some other stuff that we've put in place, we've been able to preserve over 500 acres of farmland. That ain't nothing. We've also been able to get roughly $3 million for farmers to keep those small farms afloat. That ain't nothing. So it does help. It does. I get it. Nobody wants it to be in their backyard. They prefer it to be somewhere else in town. But there aren't a whole lot of properties that there aren't someone's backyard. We do have the one, even though the other location, granted, most of the neighbor is the throughway, which is great. To the south is a farm, to the east is a residential subdivision. And actually to the north of the throughway will be another residential subdivision. And if you go beyond where the one that's being developed, there is an existing residential subdivision. So everything is still in somebody's backyard. Like I said, I absolutely understand the concern. And we try to take a look at that. I was realizing the larger distances setbacks I was thinking about was to someone else's structure. There's a significant setback to other structures, not to the necessarily the property line, so. But I've noted your concern about not raising that elevation up so as to
Mhm.
create a visual impact, and we will put that down as one of the, I'm identifying that as a potential adverse impact under seeker.
Okay, I appreciate that. Also, you yourself mentioned the 2-for-1 tree replacement possibly for the larger trees, as Mia we showed the other day. They are very large bur oaks that are going to be taken down in that plot. So,
Are you going to have forestry take them down? If nice oaks are coming down, I'd like to see them used for
Yeah. I think
used
that-
and not just discarded.
Yes, yes, definitely will. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Coming up.
Hi, I'm Linda Heinz. I'm one of the owners of this plot that they're talking about. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information from what came up at the first meeting. I walked out there into that section of the trees on the, I don't know which is north or south here, but the far end.
Yep.
90% of those trees are already on the ground. And most of it is grapevine.
Right.
Huge grapevines that are in there, because I had to walk around and go over the top and around everything just to get to the back of our property. So I knew you were concerned about the trees, but I don't know that there's a whole lot of trees
Right.
left in there that aren't already on the ground from the ice storms and all the stuff that we've had. And the other thing is, as you noted, I was back there. The way the land goes is it's high to low, which is what they're talking about. When I stand there, it was during the day, all you hear is cars on the throughway. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping the sound is what they say. It's not very loud. But all I hear is cars on the throughway. Now at night, that's different, but I don't think the motors are going to be working at night because there's no sun. Also, when I look through the hedgerow and they're very cooperative about putting in more trees, putting in more cover. I couldn't see their house when I was standing at the top, except very faintly through what's already there. When I go down towards the bottom where it drops a little bit, there's a couple sections where, yes, you can kind of see through to their house. So I understand their concern, but if they fill it in with the trees like they say they're going to, I don't see where they're even going to see it.
Right.
Also on this section where it's their temporary staging area, they were going to leave a little bit gravel for us and then put grass in. But I was going to ask if there was any way, since you said more trees, maybe you could plant trees there instead of putting in grass, put trees in that area. So that would replace more of the trees. And also, and again, not personal, but it's only 2 houses that we're talking about that might actually see maybe
Sure.
some of the panels. So.
And I understand that, but I will also say if it's your house, then it has an impact. But with that said, I will note that it's not just a question of whether they do what they say they're going to do. It will be a condition of the special use permit.
Right.
So if they don't plant the trees, if they don't put in the adequate screening, then they have to shut down. So
Right.
it's not like we're taking them at their word.
Right.
For lack of a better way to put it, trust but verify, right?
But
So there is enforcement behind it, is my
Good.
point.
well, I trust them to do it.
Right.
The other thing is, that's only one side. All the rest of it is surrounded
Yeah,
by
understood,
trees and no houses.
understood. But
and-
like I said, with those gaps, and we had the same thing with the other, the previous one we had done. There really were only houses on one side unless you count the owner's house itself. To the south, it was farm fields, but to the west, and there was a gap, they were up on the hill. We made them fill that in because you could see it from the houses down below. So I get it. We do, again, like I said, I can't say we're gonna stop all progress, but we're gonna try to make the progress as minimal impact as possible.
Mhm.
So, you know, one of the things we'll want to take a look at too, and you have my email, so Mr. Dinsmore, so you can send me, if you'd prefer there to be evergreens filled in, so that cover is there year round, just let me know and we can make that as part of a requirement. Otherwise, if you prefer it to be deciduous, it can be deciduous at, again, to their standpoint, the costs are similar. Whichever, you know, if you have a preference, say it now and we can make that as a requirement. So.
And then one last thing I wanted to mention is I did speak with the farmer who was actually seeding their property. I didn't want the farmer to waste his materials because we knew we were in the process of trying to get the solar array. I didn't want him to plant our fields with winter wheat when, as soon as we signed the lease with them, he wouldn't be able to use it
Right.
anymore.
No, that makes sense.
So that's why that's why he's saying he said he wasn't going to seed it. Well, that's why, because we didn't want him to waste his materials.
No, that makes sense.
So, and that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much for-
Come on up.
Yeah, I totally understand about seating.
Wait, hold on, wait till you're to the microphone because we
I
have to.
totally understand the thing about seating. That goes without saying. But is this 44 acres, whatever they got to come up with, is that 44 acres got to be found in the town of Henrietta?
It has to be in the town of Henrietta, yes.
And it's got to be farmable, 44 acres?
It has to be not just farmable, it has to be an active farm,
Okay.
It would be just under 60.
4X.
60, yeah.
How much is this going to cost the county and town and pilot and Comida money?
Nothing. We're gonna
Nothing.
make more money. Because today it's got an agricultural I assume it has an
It
agricultural.
doesn't, it's not an egg.
But even if it doesn't, the point is the amount of revenue generated from a solar pilot far exceeds the amount of taxes generated on the empty land. And oh, by the way, you still have to pay taxes on the empty land. The pilot only covers the equipment, the improvements to the field. So they still pay taxes on the land as per normal. The pilot covers the improvements for the solar arrays.
So basically they don't have to pay any taxes on the equipment they're installing.
It is.
Because it seems like
taxes.
that's like an endless money pit. Oh yeah, we can do that.
Pilots,
We'll do that.
pilot payments are taxes. It's just done through an agreement rather than through assessment. And just so you understand, utilities are not taxed in the same way as
I understand that.
as regular properties. It's a different portion of the tax roll. Again, the pilot program, it's 4,000 per megawatt. And escalates up from there as the typical agreements we put in place. So it will generate additional revenue. Furthermore, under the utility stuff for the special districts, the pilot does not exempt them from special district taxes, so they would still have to pay special district taxes.
And then, so this 60-acre lot that they have to come up with, is that gotta be contiguous, like one piece of property, or can it be 5 acres here, 10 acres here, 3 acres here?
It's
gonna be contiguous.
it's typically
You guys already have a
one
property?
farm.
Can I ask?
It's not finalized yet, but yes, we.
Because I have a feeling this is like getting snowballed here, like this is.
Say that again?
It feels like this is snowballing. This is happening, whether people want it or not. It's just the way, that's a feeling I'm getting.
It's not necessarily happening, but again, understand the way special use permits work. Use permits typically, it's not out for the town to deny. It's for the town to basically say, here's what you need to do to get approved.
Okay.
And so if they're unwilling or unable to do those things, so for instance, they couldn't find a farmer who was willing to put a conservation easement on their farm, this project is dead, because without that, they can't do it. If they can find a farmer and they've got someone who stepped forward who's willing to do that.
Well, my point is, and I'm not to be stupid, but find that farmer with the 60 acres, offer him up a 15-acre solar farm. Because he's got a huge piece of property, he would meet the confines of what you're trying to do.
They choose to go in that direction.
Yeah, that
In this case,
individual.
They have found a property owner.
Right.
Who has already reached an agreement.
One of the other things you've got to also
So
consider,
this-
well,
it
hold
is
on,
done, you're
let me answer your question. So one of the things you got to consider is that some of these farms are not near an electrical substation to where a solar array could be hooked up. So that's not necessarily an option for this 60-acre farm that's going to be preserved.
Okay.
So
So
that
from what you just said, they did find this 60-acre and that's a done
they
deal.
have a candidate.
Say that.
They have a,
Okay.
but we do know they have a candidate. They just haven't finalized the agreement. But again, if that agreement falls through, then this does not move forward unless they can find another candidate, because without the agricultural conservation easement, this does not move forward.
Okay. And you said the next meeting this will be brought up is when?
December 20th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Do we have any other online? Okay, so a couple of notes I've taken for identification of potential adverse impacts is to keep the elevation changes down so as to minimize the impacts. That for the tree replacement, we'd be looking at, since we're replacing some large trees, we'd be looking at a 2-to-1 replacement, and that the good hardwoods are actually harvested and not just destroyed. That the potential of planting trees in the staging area, this one, I look at this one as more of a bonus, so I don't know that I'm necessarily going to make that a requirement, but again, if you guys are willing to do that for reforestation, that's great. But that you will fill in for vegetative screening, and again, if Mr. Dinsmore or any of the other property owners make a choice as to whether they'd have deciduous or conifer, I would want you to respect their choice and plant accordingly. Okay, so because this one is still going, we're going to keep this public hearing open for December 20th. But we're going to close this session for the special use permit application number 2023-042. As mentioned earlier, the incentive zoning was withdrawn. I would like you to actually make that statement.
The incentive zoning application is withdrawn.
Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing for incentive zoning for Green Spark Solar, Tobin, Henrietta Solar LLC, 55 Tobin Road. Okay, next up, we have a public hearing for special use permit application number 2023-043, Green Spark Solar, East Henrietta Solar 1 LLC, East Henrietta Road, to construct and operate a 5-megawatt AC solar energy system through incentive zoning. We are also going to be addressing, so as to avoid segmentation, special use permit application number 2023-044, Green Spark Solar, East Henrietta Solar 2 LLC, East Henrietta Road, to construct and operate a 1.875 megawatt AC solar energy system through incentive zoning. And then we will also discuss incentive zoning application 2023-001, Green Spark Solar, East Henrietta Solar 1 and 2 LLC, seeking relief of the solar code requirements through proposed incentives. Relief's kind of a funny word. It's basically to be able to do it on a non-farm property. Okay, go ahead and.
So as stated, we will be using incentive zoning on this property. It is not currently in a favorable condition for farming itself. We will be applying under code 295-34, where we will be donating up to $150,000 for the amenity of a band shell, which will be for Veterans Memorial Park at 595 Calkins Road, right outside. This will be split between the two projects based on the megawatt size. So we'll have approximately $109,000 for Lehigh Valley 1 and $40,000 for Lehigh Valley 2. We have also noted that there are trees that do fall into Red Creek. And this is something we are crossing. While it will be a permeable road and not have any issues regarding the flow of the creek, we will do our part, and part of our routine maintenance will be to check that none of these trees are damaging the flow or blocking the stream. In regards to the crossing at Lehigh Valley Trail, we will be in contact with the County Parks Department to minimize impact on the Lehigh Valley Trail and if needed, go through the parkland alienation process.
Great. Okay, so just a couple notes, you know, as mentioned, this one is not an active farm, but it is in the rural residential district and in the rural residential incentive zoning district, which does allow complementary uses in the district as a potential incentive. And one of the benefits is improvements to parkland or recreational facilities. In discussions with Green Spark, they have offered to, you know, we shared with them the list from our Park and Rec Advisory Board as far as some of the improvements that they are looking to see, the top improvements they are looking to see in our park. And the one that made the most sense was the installation of a permanent band shell. For those who aren't aware, we have I guess I'd call it a temporary band shell. It's basically a structure that gets put up and held up with cables, and then a membrane is pulled over that. It has to get taken down each winter or else it would get destroyed. They proposed a permanent shell that would include solar panels on the roof, which is a nice tie-in to the solar array. But it would also allow us to offset electricity costs in the town. So basically, as it generates electrical power back, we get a credit for that power generated applied to our bills, which saves taxpayers dollars. So the other thing that we talked about is then at the location itself, that again, like the other one, there is a buffering outside the fence between the fence and the property line, that there could potentially be trails through that buffer that off of the Lehigh Valley Trail, as well as the western portion of this parcel. So it's a strange parcel in that about a quarter to a third of it is bifurcated by the Lehigh Valley Trail. The solar panels are all on the eastern portion of the parcel. The western portion, there has been discussion between the property owner and the Masonic care community about using that as essentially a park-like setting. As to whether that's a private park or a public park, that's up to the Masonic care community. But basically that's where the access would come in. And again, as mentioned, to get to the eastern portion of the parcel, they have to cross the Lehigh Valley Trail. So they will be working with the Monroe County on how to do that. For the temporary access, I got to believe that when they put that trail in, they had to provide access easement across it. We had to do the same when one of our park lands essentially cut off access to a nearby farm. But for a permanent cross access, there might have to be a parkland alienation process, which is unfortunately is a long, slow, difficult slog through through Albany. But having just gone through it, if you need any assistance, I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
I think that about covers it. Any questions from the town board? Actually, I want to just take a second on the previous one. I want to reach out to Chris Martin, our Director of Planning. Chris, could you make sure I had listed 4 things from the comments with regards to the Tobin seeker?
Yes, sir.
Could you do me a favor and check to see if they are currently in the seeker as identified? I know some of them are, but for instance, I think the 2-for-1 tree replacement, I don't know if that one is.
Seeker?
Okay.
Correct. It identified under seeker that this is a potential adverse impact. And
Adverse, okay.
it would eventually make it as a condition, but I just want to make sure we talk about, we don't necessarily have to talk about the replacement, but I think we did talk about hardwood trees, old growth trees. And I want to make sure we talked about, potential visual impacts.
All right, to recap then, you got the 2-for-1 tree replacement, visual impacts.
Yeah. So that doesn't need to be in the seeker, as long as in seeker, we talked about the concern, potential impact of taking down old growth trees, which
We could talk about buffering, Mr. Supervisor, but I don't think we necessarily talk about the tree replacements.
Okay. So if, like I said, the replacement itself is more, that's more the, how it's going to be mitigated, right? Not
We
the,
could cover that in the special use permit.
that's what I was thinking. I just want to
Yep.
make sure we identify as one of the potential adverse impact, the loss of old growth trees.
Okay,
And again, the suggested mitigation is to replace those at a 2-for-1. And then, like I said, the other thing I want to make sure that's in the seeker. If it needs to be added to the end, let me know and get that to Don.
I can tell you it probably does need to be added. I know we talked about, I don't think we talked about replacement of trees in the seeker for the loss of the old growth, so that would be something that we would have to add.
Okay, if you could get that added, I'd appreciate it, because we did want to work on seeker tonight so that you guys can actually start the planning process. The condition would be in the SUP, but it should be something that's identified in seeker, since it did come out in the public hearing tonight.
Okay,
I was gonna ask Chris to do it and send it to you. If you would prefer to do it, Don, I'm sure Chris would not be offended.
not in the least.
So you're asking for the narrative that
I don't care about whether it mentions, I just want to basically say that we identify a potential adverse impact of the removal of old growth trees, and that the proposed mitigation is a 2-for-1 replacement. I know we talked about the buffering, the vegetative screening. I know, again, the staging area is more of a benefit. And I think we did talk about visual impact as well.
Did we talk about the noise? I know there's not really, it's,
I don't know that, again, from a, I don't identify that as an adverse impact. I know there's people who don't like this, there to be any sound, but to the point, and again, as someone who lives a good distance from the thruway, I will tell you the thruway drowns out pretty much every other noise on the property. Again, if there is a noise issue, it probably means there's a faulty component that needs to be replaced. I don't see that as potentially a adverse impact of the properly operating equipment. But if we want to mention the potential adverse impact of improper faulty components making noise, and that the mitigation offered will be to replace those faulty components, I'm fine with that being in secret.
I don't seem to have the latest supplemental with the changes that were done. So if Chris has that, I would.
Chris, could you send that to Don?
I have a hunch that that Jenny had that. I know she sent an email out at the end. I'll tell you what, yes, let me see what I can do between Becky and I, we can take care of it.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay, thank you. Sorry, we'll return now to the Lehigh Valley one. So I just wanted to make sure that that was in there, and we take care of that. We might have to postpone, or not postpone, but we'll move the Tobin Road one to later in the agenda.
No, we do have we do have copies of that. I will send these to Don right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, returning to the Lehigh Valley, I've not heard anything. I don't know if there are any, well, let's first finish with town board comments. Any additional town board comments? Like I said, this one to the previous comment, this is one of those places where we do have some open land that isn't being well utilized. And we don't have neighbors complaining that I'm aware of, but if we did, I will note that one of the other potential uses of this was a motocross park. So I would think that solar arrays, no matter how noisy they creak, if they move, are going to be far less noisy than a motocross park. So any questions, comments from the public on the Lehigh Valley Solar? Whether on the special use permit for solar 1, solar 2, or the incentive zoning? Do we have anything online? Okay, then hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearings for special use permit application number 2023-043, special use permit application number 2023-044, and incentive zoning 2023-001.
Supervisor, can I ask you a question on that real quick?
Sure.
So for the resolution, first of all, is Chris in the building?
Chris is in the building.
All right, I might go see him on the Tobin Seeker just to clarify something. I'll be
Yeah,
clear
that's
that way.
fine.
All right.
I'm not, so we are not going to read the Tobin one until we have the updated resolution.
All right, and then on the
Seeker.
East Henrietta Solar, I just want to make sure I understand something. So as it stands, this landlocked parcel is going to need access through county lands, is that right?
It's a linear park that bifurcates the parcel. That's why we have that one condition that says that they obtain proper access from the county.
As it stands, they must have access somehow though, right?
That's what I would assume. The county wasn't, just as if you remember when we were dealing with the property next to the Legacy, we weren't aware. It wasn't listed on our map, our access easement. And the reason is it wasn't a specific easement. It was access through the property. I suspect the same thing is in place there. Or
Okay.
if not, it should have been in place because again, in the creation of that park or a road, they're not supposed to be able to landlock someone so that they can't get to their own property.
Right.
So,
for 15, I think there was a typo because it looks like it didn't finish the sentence. Condition 15 on the special use permit kind of drifted off. It looked like maybe something was cut off. So I was going to suggest, and it deals with the access. I went to go read about it just to make sure I understood it. So I was going to suggest that it be completed and reworded so it's a complete sentence and addresses what you were just talking about.
okay, this is for the
Special
SUP?
use permit, yeah.
Okay.
Do you want me to read
Sure.
that for you? So what I would suggest that it read is as follows. Sufficient access to the parcel is provided, including proof thereof, subject to review and approval by the planning board as part of site plan review, including provision of any necessary easements as may be required for the same prior to the issuance of a building permit. Is that
Correct.
okay?
Yeah, because if they don't have access to drive the building, the equipment across there, they can't start their building permit.
All right, and the other item I wanted to mention that I saw in here, because now I'm understanding what this, after that discussion, a little bit more here, filling in the blanks. Number 17 says access across the Lehigh Valley Trail will be provided in such a manner as to cause minimal disruptions to the trail, and that the plan to cross the trail was subject to approval by the Monroe County Parks Department.
Correct.
So if they don't approve access, then this special use permit
We're gonna figure out a new way.
goes away.
Bridge.
Do we want to be any more specific about when that needs to be done, or, because typically, in this case, the condition is on an outside agency.
Right, so the issue is this, there's two different types of access. There's temporary access for construction access.
Yeah,
From a temporary access, like a field access, I don't know how they can deny it. Because again, I don't think they could have created it in such a way as to deny that in the first place. But to create a permanent road for this facility, so once it's in operation, that's a different beast. So that's the one that typically may have to go through parkland alienation. Now they have some potential, they have land right next door to offer in exchange for that parkland alienation. They have ways to put it in so that it has minimal impact. You can do the subgrade reinforcement and put the trail back over the top so that when a heavy vehicle crosses, it's not causing damage to the trail. But again, the point is that's to the satisfaction. They can, I guess, if you want to put a time limit, it would be before a certificate of compliance is
So you want me to say for 17 permanent access?
correct, yes. So permanent access, that 17, the first one was for temporary, for construction access essentially. The other one is for permanent access.
And do you want me to say, do you want it to talk about it's definitively across the Lehigh Valley Trail, or do you want to say something like
Or-
if it's across?
Right, if across, right, or an alternate route. You could, you know, something in there that they could provide an alternate route. If they can't close on the trail. I would suspect they'll be able to figure out a way with the county. I don't think they're gonna be unreasonable about it. I wasn't saying that he was gonna deny it. He was just saying that it may require parkland alienation.
Okay.
Which is a lengthy process. But, you know, so like I said, we would take a look at as to whether
Shouldn't that be done during site plan review to show where the access is going to be?
it has a potential access, but again, if the county needs it to move, to be honest, the access is coming into the parcel. If the county wants to move it anywhere along that trail, from a site plan standpoint, I don't see how it really makes a difference. So yes, the site plan will have an access on it. But again, it's possible that the county could move it. And I say that it just happened with us with the parkland alienation and the stuff we did at the golf course. When you get out there, we have on the plan where it was supposed to be. And then when you look, there's certain things having to do with the terrain that said, oh, it actually makes more sense to move it. The key is then they would have to provide an as-built back as part of the site plan. I mean, that's pretty standard from a site plan and construction standpoint. But yes, the site plan should have what I'll refer to as their best guess as to where it's ultimately going to be. They've got 2 weeks to discuss with the county parks as to where the county parks thinks it's their best guess.
Okay. So let me reread based on that
Sure.
discussion, what 17 could say, and you let me know if it reads the way you want it to. Permanent access to the parcel will be provided, comma, all to the satisfaction of the town engineer, comma, including that if access is across the Lehigh Valley Trail, such access will be provided in such a manner as to cause minimal disruption to the trail, and the plan for such access across the trail is subject to approval by the Monroe County Parks Department. The last part is the one I'm kind of,
That works for me.
that's what you wanted to be.
Yep.
Okay.
I just can't speak for them and say, yep, they're crossing your trail is good. They've got to be the ones who say that. And obviously, if they can't come to an agreement, they're gonna have to figure out another way to get in there. It's not easy because of between the trail, the throughway, the houses to the east, and the creek and wetlands, and the farm to the south, really the best way in is across that trail. But again, you know, what's interesting is in some of the maps, the trail doesn't actually exist through that property. I know it is on the county GIS, but if you look at the original site plans for the trail, it did not go through the golf course. It actually went around the golf course, interestingly enough. I don't know which drawing was final, but so like I said, I don't know. I don't want to be in the middle of that one. I want them to resolve that with the county. I'm happy to answer any questions for either them or the county, but
Do you want me to just put on the end, including any and all approvals required? Because there might be the parkland.
sure. Yep. Okay, great. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're gonna hold off right now on resolution 25-407 until our director of planning, engineering and planning is able to work with the town attorney to get that updated. So can I get resolution 25-408?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution number 25-408/2023 to accept the seeker determination and issue a negative declaration for two proposed solar arrays for EH Henrietta Road Solar One LLC, Lehigh Solar One, and EH Henrietta Solar Two LLC, Lehigh South Solar Two.
Second. So, again, there were no additional potential adverse impacts that came out of this meeting, so that seeker was fully done. There will be some conditions. There's actually a lot of conditions on the special use permit approval. Come out of many of them which come out of the findings from the seeker. So any questions, comments regarding the seeker determination? Anything from the public? Anything online? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-409, 2023 to improve an incentive zoning application number IZ 2023-001 by Green Spark Solar for EH Henrietta Solar One LLC, Lehigh South Solar One, and EH Henrietta Solar Two LLC, Lehigh South Solar Two.
Seconded.
So again, as we looked at this, it was interesting, the 2011 comprehensive land use plan, they talked about the sustainable Henrietta, and they identified three major things. One was community building, which was, they wanted to create this town center, and that's where you saw the growth out of that came the new rec center, the new library, expanded use of the park, and other businesses in and around the center. And so the improvement of the band shelter, which we also use coincidentally for where our farmers market takes place in the summer. So we do a farmers market and summer concert series. So again, a lot of tie-ins to what we're talking here. They also identified green infrastructure, which obviously is being advanced by the addition of the large solar projects. But also by the roof on the band shelter. So again, I think a really good tie-in there. And then the third portion of that sustainable Henrietta was economic development, which solar arrays are economic drivers, right? They generate income, they generate taxes, it produces power, which, oh, by the way, one of the things that's holding up a number of projects in Henrietta today is lack of available electrical power. So the more power we can generate, the better off we are. So it really does combine all three of those elements in that sustainable Henrietta in the summary of the 2011 comprehensive land use plan. So I think it really is a good mix. And again, I know our Park and Recreation Advisory Board, as well as our Park and Recreation team, will be very excited to have a permanent band shell. And it will even cover more. It'll actually provide larger space because the current band shell takes up some of that concrete base. This would be able to span the full 50-foot width and the full 85-foot depth. So looking forward to that. Any questions, comments? I will note that, like we do with most stuff, there is a requirement that you start construction within 1 year. For this, we made it either you start the solar project or the incentive, the benefit to the community. So if either one of them starts, it's locked in permanently. If you're running into legislative hassles, you can, before it expires, so before this time next year, come in and request an extension, we can grant that.
Okay.
But like, obviously, if you get cleared that and we start construction on either the band shell or the solar arrays, this is locked in.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do we have any questions or comments from the public? This is on incentive zoning. Anything online? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. So Joe, I'm gonna want you to move the version of the special use permit with Don's modifications.
Can I read
The
those one
summary
la-
will be the same, but yeah, go ahead and
Yeah.
read those
All right.
changed.
So, 15, after these conversations, here's what I have. 15 is for the construction access. That sufficient construction access to the parcels provided, including proof thereof, subject to review and approval by the planning board as part of site plan review, including the provision of any necessary easements as may be required for the same, subject to any other approvals that may be required pursuant to law or regulation, all prior to the issuance of a building permit. That's 15. 17, permanent access to the parcel will be provided, including that if access is across the Lehigh Valley Trail, such access will be provided in such a manner as to cause minimal disruptions to the trail, with the plan for such access across the trail subject to approval by Monroe County Parks Department, as well as subject to any and all other approvals that may be required by applicable law or regulation. Such access to be reviewed and accepted by the town engineer, all prior to, and I think it's either certificate of occupancy or building permit. I think
It's
you
not
said,
occupancy, it's
I'm sorry,
certificate of compliance.
yeah, certificate of compliance.
We were gonna do that one, certificate of compliance, because if they have to go through parkland alienation, you don't want the project to, they'll never be able to afford it.
The risk there, of course, is that if you get to build it and then you don't get your permanent access, now you have a real
They would
issue.
have to find another route, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Right, but my point is that's their risk to take. It doesn't become operational. I get it. I understand where you're at, but
they're gonna have a decommissioning plan up before they get in
Correct.
bonds and all that, before you get
Yeah.
started.
Yes.
yeah, like I said.
I would prefer building permit, but I understand.
The problem is if it
Practicality.
has to go to parkland alienation, it's largely a rubber stamp, but it takes a long time. So, you know, if we wanted to do anything, I'd rather just leave it that way, or if you want to put it that the parkland, if it requires parkland alienation process, the application for parkland alienation has to be submitted prior to building permit. That I'd be okay with. Because that means they've agreed to it with the county, it's all set, but now it goes to Albany. Albany does not move quickly. It took 12 months to get the last one through, and they can't not start construction and start that's just.
Yeah, that's
That's
obviously a
just
huge
tough.
risk to start without it, but if you want me to add in there, the park, I can add in there or leave it. It's up to you. It's up to you.
I'm okay either way. If you think it should be that it has to be submitted prior to building permit, I'm okay. If you think what we've got now is okay, obviously they have to understand that risk and make that decision. What they could ultimately do is work with the farmer to the south and have in place a backup plan. So,
Yeah, that's up to the town board if you want to proceed in that way.
yeah.
But if you want, like I said, if you want me to mention parkland alienation, I can do that, or I can leave it out.
I think the way you read it was fine. Does anyone else think it needs to change?
I would prefer to not put in the parkland alienation. It's not 100% sure, right? That part is necessary.
Seems like that's still a bit up in the air whether. that's gonna
We don't know. So what it comes down to is when that park was created, they were granted access through it, which again, I think it had to have been. Then there is no alienation because the access predated the park, which again, I would argue that it did because basically when the golf course was there, they had the right to cross the railroad tracks. Now that the railroad tracks are removed and it's this park, they can't now take that right to cross the railroad tracks away from the property and landlock that parcel with no access to it. So it was just when the first person first looked at it, I don't think they fully went through all the the ramifications as to how that came about. Again, the property preceded the park. It's not the other, so like when we were looking at the Riverton one, the park preceded the parcel. So they did not have access. And oh, by the way, it wasn't landlocked because both halves of the parcel had access out to Erie Station Road. That's not the case here.
Yeah, and for that reason, I don't think we should leave it as it is.
What if we added in that the approval by the Parks Department is required prior to issuance of the building permit? You want to do that?
I'm good with that.
Does that get you part of the way there?
That gets us part of the way there. Because then if they approve it, but it's subject to parkland alienation, they've got the approval ahead of time and then that they can make that decision. I like that. Good choice. Okay. Go ahead and put forth as modified by the town
Mr.
attorney.
Supervisor and fellow town board members, I have resolution number 25-410, 2023 to grant special use permit application number 2023-043 for Henrietta Solar One LLC, Lehigh South Solar One, and special use permit application number 2023-044 for Henrietta Solar Two LLC, Lehigh South Solar Two with modifications.
Second.
Okay, so there are 21 conditions. A lot of them I think you're already aware of. I'm not going to bother going through with them but in terms of things like replacing the defective panels, putting in either nitrogen fixers or pollinators underneath to stabilize soil, et cetera, and so forth. I'm going to get to the some of the ones more specific to this application. I will read those. So we've already talked about the access, that all state and federal wetlands will be protected and undisturbed in accordance with the respective controlling agencies, and any permits required by the New York State Department of Conservation and or Army State Corps of Engineers are obtained prior to work in the wetlands or their buffers. Obviously, if that permit allows you to step foot in that, or to put a trail through the wetlands, that's allowed. But unless you have that permission, you have to not disturb the wetlands. The access across the creek to the west of the property will be created in such a manner that it will not cause damming or other upstream issues. And shall be subject to review and approval by the planning board as part of the site plan review process. The developer shall install adequate vegetating screening and create a site plan that includes park-like settings to either side of the Lehigh Valley Trail as approved by the Town of Henrietta Planning Board, so as to provide a consistent natural setting through which the Lehigh Valley Trail passes. So the idea is we don't want it to as you're coming down this natural trail, suddenly there's a big wall of solar arrays. Again, some people find them attractive. For those people who do, they can walk down the side and go look at them. 19, compliance with any conditions or requirements of the incentive zoning approval, including but not limited to the requirement that prior to the issuance of any building permits for the construction of the solar arrays, an agreement between the Town of Henrietta and GreenSpark Solar be executed covering the details of the construction or contribution towards construction of the permanent ban shell with a total aggregate value of at least $150,000. Number 20, in compliance with Town Code 295-73E prior to the issuance of a certificate of compliance, a payment in lieu of taxes agreement shall be executed in a form acceptable and approved by the town board. And then 21's common, which basically says it's the director of engineering and planning who basically checks these off. It says, yep, they're acceptable, they're acceptable. Some of them have additional review. So for instance, like, if some is planning board, it'll expressly say it, but otherwise it's the director of engineering and planning who says you've met all the requirements. All right.
Great.
Those sound acceptable? Okay. Any further comments, questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I look forward to working with you on the ban shell.
Absolutely. We are thrilled. Our CEO is He's very excited about it, so.
So Don is going, don't go anywhere yet, because we obviously still have to resolve the Tobin. I assume Don's gonna go meet with Chris while we go to our normal resolutions, and then we'll come back to Tobin Road when it's ready.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get my next resolution?
And once again, I'm still scrolling.
411.
Uh,
That's why I opened the only one.
right. Yeah, that was the way to go. Hold on, let me, Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, oh, that was super easy. Resolution, I make a motion to approve resolution 25-411, 2023 to approve and or ratify the following agreements.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Yeah, but don't you have that,
Chris,
Hold on,
your microphone is on.
Yeah. Okay, Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-412, 2023 to authorize bills payable and any associated contracts or agreements for November 21st, 2023 through today, December 6th, 2023.
Second.
So I will note the following from our Director of Finance. The large 2.2 million is because our principal and interest payments were due on the library bonds. That's 350K. Our sport court construction invoices came through. That was just under 200K. The sewer department flush truck invoice came through. That was over 460K. The court construction buildings came through. We received 828K worth of pay apps. So that's about 1.8 million of the 2.2 million. So it wasn't an unusual spending other than certain end of year payments and or other large payments came through in this particular one.
It's always lovely spending somebody else's money.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. I know it's
We're
town-
actually pretty darn stingy with
I know, it is the town's money and it's,
right.
we have to be.
How long, do you know offhand, how long the, library bonds are for? Until?
I don't remember. Yeah, Linda will give us an answer, I suspect, at some point.
Mr. Supervisor,
Yep.
they're through December 15th of 2047.
Okay, thank you.
2047.
Yes.
2047.
So none of us will be on the
None of us
board.
will be here on board.
I'm just trying to think. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna be here on this planet.
that's right.
That is very true.
Any further comment on the bills payable? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-413/2023 to call for a public hearing on a proposed local law to amend the Henrietta Town Code regarding solar energy systems.
Second. So this local law, as I mentioned earlier, basically, right now, the law requires that the land being preserved, the farmland being preserved for solar arrays be on the same property as the solar array itself. At a 3x ratio, we decided we would allow farmland to preserve on a separate farm, but it would be at 4x the ratio. Any questions, comments? Again, this is just calling for the public hearing. Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-414, 2023 to issue a notice to perform work to the owner occupant of 6 Bitternell Lane for numerous code violations.
Seconded.
So this property has received multiple code violations year after year. The occupant has not responded, has not appeared in court. So we are starting action to do some of the cleanup and bill that to the residents. Any questions, comments?
And it says owner occupant, because I believe that the son of the owner occupies the property right now.
No, it's different property.
No,
6
no,
Bitternell?
No, this is not. This is know which one this is.
So what happens is it gets sent to both the
Okay.
owner and the occupant.
Okay.
Well, if we have 2 different addresses, if it's one and the same address, it will go to that
Perfect.
address.
All right,
But
thank you.
in the real property, there's the location,
Right,
and then there's the owner's address that would
Okay.
go to both.
okay, that's what I was questioning.
And then we actually post so it's sent through certified mail, and then we actually post one at the site.
Okay, all right, yeah, because I know this is one of the properties where I talked to one of the neighbors.
Yep.
So.
Any further questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow town board members, I have resolution number 25-415, 2023, to issue a cash deposit instead of a letter of credit to cover work for the streetlight conversion from RG&E assets to town assets.
Second.
So we'd previously approved a letter of credit. When looking at it, the cash deposit will actually be easier and potentially save money due to the interest would be charged. Otherwise, so this is just saying that we can, instead of using a letter of credit, we can do it through a cash deposit. The work is expected to be done by summer, so the money would be back returned, but at that point. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 25-416, 2023, to hire personnel and make the attached change.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-417, 2023, to authorize the purchase of 25 golf carts and 1 shuttle cart for Riverton Municipal Golf Course from MTE Equipment Solutions.
Second.
So originally, we were looking at 30 golf carts. As we discussed it more. Right now, or in years past, they used to rent golf carts to the folks who were playing disc golf, and they would essentially drive them out there, and then they would sit while they played and then drive them back. So that took golf carts out of circulation, which means we had to have more golf carts. We've decided that from an operational standpoint, we will get 1 shuttle cart with basically 5 passenger and the driver. And so that way we can just shuttle the people out there and come right back and not tie up golf carts. That allowed us to go from 30 golf carts to 25 golf carts, saving taxpayer dollars. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-418/2023 to accept a letter of credit for the Lehigh Ridge subdivision, section 1.
Second. For those curious, the section 1 of the Lehigh subdivision is the portion that comes off the extension of Nevins. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-419, 2023 to authorize a tax certiorari settlement with Town Line Partners LLC for 2921 Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road.
Seconded.
Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-420, 2023 to authorize advertisement of bids for a permitting code and plan review software solution.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I make a motion to approve resolution 25-421, 2023 to respond to Office of Cannabis Management notices regarding cannabis license applications.
Seconded.
So I will note that most of these, well, 3 of them were for the same property, 3 potential different operators. Those ones, they do not have a special use permit yet. So that one's just a neither support nor oppose. And the 4th one is for a cultivator license at 65 Mushroom Boulevard, which is located within the Genesee Valley Regional Market. Since that's an agricultural use, it's up to the regional market. They approved it, so we are sending a letter of support for they refer to it as a micro business. Most people call it a cultivator license, so. Any further questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-422, 2023 to adopt the 2024 holiday schedules for the town facility.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-423/2023 to adopt the 2024 board schedules.
Second. And one of the things we're going to try for next year is rather than 2 meetings a month, we're going to go to 1 meeting every 3 weeks. On those occasional months that have 5 Wednesdays, that extra week has allowed our staff to recover, for lack of a better way to put it, from the previous board cycle. For those who aren't aware, basically immediately following and wrapping up the board meeting on the normal schedule, you have to start the next one. We found that once a month, because we had tried that in the summer previously, once a month was too far apart. Once every 3 weeks is a good compromise, gives us that extra week to get other work done, while still being frequent enough that the agendas don't get huge and we don't create adverse impacts because of the long delay between meetings. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Blanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Fellow board members, I have resolution 25-424, 2023 to adopt the revised fiscal year 2024 budget.
Seconded.
Well, note that we're not changing the budget dollar amounts or anything like that. There was just in the budget itself, so internal to the budget. We had the correct number for the salaries for the town justices as they're going up next year. In the summary sheet at the back where we list the salaries of elected officials, it was not updated there, so we are correcting that. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor and fellow board members, I have resolution number 25-425, 2023 to make appropriate budget transfers to the 2023 adopted budget.
Second.
Any discussions? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, fellow town board members, I have resolution 25-426, 2023 to authorize the supervisor to sign a purchase agreement for 520 Scottsville West Henrietta Road from Joseph C. Incorporated.
Seconded.
So just prior to the meeting, we did receive the signature of acceptance of our offer letter. So this will authorize me to countersign. I actually got it right here. Basically, we had looked at, as you may be aware, we were looking to potentially build new as the original deal fell apart. We made one last ditch effort to approach the current owner of the former golf course. And we were able to agree to terms. So rather than building new, we will start with that property there. Based on the condition of the building, we will probably build a new facility adjacent to it and replace the current clubhouse and restaurant. But we wouldn't replace the restaurant. We would just replace the clubhouse. We would most likely then create a pad and for some commercial entity to come in and build a restaurant and operate it and pay the town rent. Any further questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. Are we ready? Great. Good timing. So again, Lisa, when you put forth this resolution, you will put it forth as amended by the town attorney.
Can we get back to it?
407, yeah.
I was just reading what he sent.
Oh, yeah, you can,
I know.
that's true. You can do it right from email if you prefer.
Yeah, and I just added, Chris and I just added the provision about the trees and then buffer to the north.
Right.
All right, Supervisor Schultz and fellow board members, I have amended resolution number 25-407, 2023 to accept the seeker determination and issue a negative declaration for proposed solar array for Tobin Henrietta Solar LLC located at 55 Tobin Road.
Rick,
Mr. Page.
Me?
Yep.
Second. Sorry.
It's way out of order, so.
Mm-hmm.
Comments. So like I said, basically it's what was already in there. We just wanted to add the stuff that came up tonight. We had all the stuff from the previous meetings. We just wanted to make sure we captured all the potential adverse impacts. And then what will happen is those will become conditions of the special use permit on the 20th. Any questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember Safranik,
Aye.
Councilmember Bolsner,
Aye.
Councilmember Page,
Aye.
Councilmember Belanca,
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye. That concludes our resolutions. Do we have anybody who wishes to make a public comment? I know you do. Even if we switch to the town stuff, when you're ready to come back, we'll put you on. Babies take priorities. Is there anyone here who wishes to make a comment? If you want to speak now, you're welcome to speak now. That's up to you.
I would love to hold a baby if you want me to.
She has a poopy diaper.
Oh.
I don't.
That-
And she'll cry. My name is Sarah Neslin. I live at 1285 Erie Station Road. I was here last meeting. There alongside my property is 1335 Erie Station Road, which is being currently operated as a commercial composting site that the town is aware of. We're still waiting for, I guess, the special use permit to be submitted. So, I mean, I have lots of concerns, but the one I'll bring tonight is, do we have, I mean, they haven't applied for a special use permit, but there are probably not federal wetlands, but I have swamp between my house and the Lehigh Valley Trail. And there is a culvert from that property to mine. And there's a culvert under my driveway that goes into the Red Creek. My question and concern on an environmental level is, do we know that this composting site countywide is not making an environmental impact that is affecting? So the issue, whether you may not know about it, is I live right beside it. There's one other property right directly across from the site, and they moved in last May. We smelled an odor occasionally as the compost pile was building, but in August, September, that's when we really started to notice it on a regular basis. And I made a formal complaint, and they invited us to the site to see what they were doing. The month of November, I am keeping an odor log that I have been sending to Craig and Supervisor Schultz, and I talked to George Zorno across the street to check in with him because he's at a higher elevation, but directly across from the property. We are at a lower elevation, so every single night, not lately, not since Thanksgiving, the odor at sunset settles into our property and is, what is the word? Putrid. That's the word that I came up with that would describe this smell. So I don't know if there's been anything that has happened lately.
So we've, on multiple occasions, sent our code enforcement
Yeah.
officer over to inspect, and he swears up and down that there is no putrid odor, that
Right.
there is no that every time we've sent him over, I mean, he's getting upset with us because we keep sending him over and he
Right.
keeps saying there is no violation.
So
So-
he does need to go. It hasn't been, it was really, really bad right up until Thanksgiving. It needs to happen in the evening. I don't know if he has been sent in the evening.
He doesn't work in the evening.
Right, and so he'll never smell an odor probably during the day, but in the evening,
Okay,
But
I don't know,
after-
I don't know that that was ever made clear.
okay,
The unfortunate issue right now, and we've talked about rectifying this, Craig does not have a code enforcement officer certification from the state, so
right.
it potentially, I don't know if it's the appropriate use of Monroe County Sheriff Deputy, but it could be either a code enforcement officer or a law enforcement officer. We've talked about, and I will tell you, finding people with a code enforcement officer certification is exceedingly difficult. We've talked about the possibility of having somebody who's a B shift, part-time code enforcement officer. We've just not been able to find that person.
I know.
I get it. The thing I will do is I will ask though that they do cite them. They do need to come in and do their special use permit.
Right, like.
They've gotta paper it properly. I absolutely agree with you. So I will ask them to cite them for that and that they have
Yeah.
to get in
My
here.
concern is
right now, I mean, it was very bad in November. My concern is next summer.
Right,
Right.
I don't have air conditioning and we choose that as an environmental
sure.
financial decision. And when it's 90 degrees outside, which it seems more often lately, we need
Right.
to open our windows at night to let that heat out. So just from a personal,
Right.
and I have children and
And
we
again,
like to use our property.
as I've
so.
talked to you about before too, the other thing we're looking at is, and they're starting to move the stuff off of the old fill site to the new fill site. So we'll be able to start to do some of the initial work to make that site available as a compost facility. We do have a grant application into the Department of Energy. I think the determination dates is, don't remember if it was end of January or mid-February. So hopefully we'll hear from that. In theory, according to all the stuff they've said, our money was essentially, we were pre-allocated as long as we turn in a qualifying grant, and our grant does seem to qualify when you read all of the stuff. So we should get the money. It's federal, so who knows? If, for all I know, they won't have a budget yet, so everything will be on hold. But if that's the case, we would look at now we would actually go out to bid, but to my knowledge, they're the leading contenders for operating that compost site there, so it would get it away from your house. I do, when I look at it, the potential issue I see is because again, it's lower ground and there is more moisture there. This would be at the top of the hill. It's also ground that has been filled with millings from road construction, as well as like if they have to grind up concrete, stuff like that. So it would also be created so that we would have drain collection systems into tanks so that it's not open air. If anything leaks out, it drains out. In fact, that liquid is typically considered quite valuable, even if it is stinky.
Because we know that it's there's a creek and a stream.
Right, I understand that. So, we do, Craig does have, he is part of our SWIP and MS4 folks, so he can take a look at that as to whether he thinks there is contamination going on. Again, he can't cite them for a code violation for odor, but he could, if there is contamination going on, he can deal with that.
So
It would typically be through the DEC, but it's this, there's essentially a partnership between the towns and the DEC with regards to stormwater and runoff and stuff like that. So
what do I need to do? I mean, if it doesn't smell from here until spring, great. We know that for us as residents, it does smell in the evening. So since there is not an evening code enforcement person, and I don't think they like me, what do I need to do? Who do I need to call so that somebody can come and experience the smell? Because
I'll have to have a discussion with the director of building and fire prevention to look at what avenues we potentially
we
have.
do need to do something since odor is considered a nuisance by law. Not a site, it's not a site nuisance, it's an actual nuisance by law. It impedes private
Well,
enjoyment.
I will just point out, in your opinion, it's an active nuisance by law.
Oh, but
No, I understand. I'm just saying,
noxious fumes can be,
oh, I agree. I'm just saying, my point is she's saying by law in.
It's one of the nuisances.
I understand it's listed. I'm just saying, my point is you're saying it by law in our country, you're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. They have not been found. I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying it's an alleged nuisance right now.
Okay.
Pat
Wardinger has come over to smell
Right.
it, and so has Craig Eckert. I do have some people who have come to smell it, and it's.
I understand. And like I said, believe me, we've been working on it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, our code enforcement officer just never seems to smell it. And it might have to be that it's at night.
My log, have you looked at it?
I've seen it. I've seen it. I have to
You
be
haven't
honest.
studied it.
I've been up to 4 in the morning
Yeah,
trying to
no,
get
I
all
get
this stuff done for
So when I
town board,
look-
so I
when I
haven't
look
looked
at
at a
this
whole lot
detail,
else.
I have a rubric of 1, 3,
Oh,
5,
yeah, I've seen that.
and I'm documenting the time that it starts. And sometimes in November, it was becoming in the morning and in the evening. It's usually not midday right
Right.
now. Right now.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know why that would be. That's kind of
So-
interesting, but anyway, like I said, we'll have a discussion with the Director of Building and Fire Prevention under whom code enforcement falls, to see if there's some way we can get somebody out there who does have a CEO license.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is he doesn't, he's not, their certification required by New York State
Right.
to be a CEO.
Right.
And so we'll
I'm
look
just
to
not sure
see.
what else I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? When it comes back and it's consistently there and we're tracking it, I'm just not sure who I'm supposed to call so that they can come like now or, like.
Understood.
What would the DEC need to do in order to evaluate whether there was contamination within the runoffs?
Well, that's again, it would start with Craig. He would notify them. They would come and look. I will say the DEC is not always consistent. We had somebody who had a swimming pool full of garbage that was running into a creek, and for whatever reason, they didn't find them. So I will just let you know that if there is a violation, we will notify the DEC, but depending on who you get and how it comes out, I don't know what will happen. But again, we have been staying on top of this. I was gone for Thanksgiving break. I basically was on vacation to visit family. So I haven't touched it. And then getting back, I've still have this huge backlog. But like I said, we have been looking into it. We have been following up on it. We have been aggravating our code enforcement officer because we keep bringing up to him that we have multiple witnesses who see this and yet he can't seem to smell it. And now maybe his olfactory senses don't detect that particular odor.
The other question I have is, which should probably be determined by the special use permit that they will apply for, is how big is it going to get? Because
Correct.
Pat Wordinger last meeting said, oh, they've doubled their intake. And when we went in October and had the meeting with the people, they said, oh, we're not getting any bigger. This is as big as it's gonna get. And so I don't know. So I mean, that'll be another question I have when they have their special use permit, because they told us it was not
Sure.
going to be getting any bigger.
I will just say that with Pat, she's phenomenal at what she does, but she's also sometimes enthusiastic.
Yes.
So in other words, they may have said this is the size it's going to be, and maybe they were at half intake coming in,
Right.
and now they're at full intake, and it's not going to be getting any bigger. I don't know. I just know that occasionally she's made some statements that, like I said, I'll just describe them as enthusiastic. She's phenomenal. She drives and pushes a lot of this stuff forward. She's been great from a sustainability standpoint. Couldn't have asked for a better chairman of our sustainability. But like I said, in terms of whether that statement is accurate or not, I
It'll
can't
just be a
address that.
question when they are here applying.
That
for
is
their
correct,
permit.
yes. But like I said, I do agree that they do need to get their paperwork in place. You know, again, the difference between an agricultural and a commercial composting facility, it becomes commercial and thus requires a special use permit when the material is coming from offsite, is processed on site, and then used offsite. So until it's actually shipped out, technically they didn't need it. I do agree. I think they've crossed that line and they need to get that paperwork and get it in place. So I would just say, continue to follow up with us as to whether you need to come to these meetings or not. That's up to you.
Okay.
Or you can just schedule a meeting with Craig or myself.
Okay.
And that way, it'll be shorter, and by all means, please bring the baby, because we love babies probably more than we love puppies.
Thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, Kevin Wilson, Director of Building Fire Prevention.
Yep.
I will meet Miss Neslin out in the hallway here, give her my contact information after the meeting or when she leaves. And as you know, I'm here some evenings, so if there's an issue, she can give me a call at any time.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Kevin, thank you.
Yep.
Any further public comment? Do we have any reports from the board?
No, just if you have books or puzzles or anything like that, the library is still taking donations.
You can announce the rec stuff?
Yes, absolutely. This is the busiest season of the year. The winter spring brochure is now available online. Registration opened for residents this past Monday and will be open for non-residents this upcoming Monday. We obviously have one of the signature events of the calendar year coming up on Saturday, and that is the Holiday Lights and Magic. Santa arrives at 5:50, if I'm not mistaken. The tree lighting will be happening at 6 o'clock. There'll be a magic show at the senior center at 6:30. Music, food, crafts, wagon rides, and more inside and outside the rec center and the library. And also nominations are open for the 2024 Henrietta Youth Hall of Fame. If you have a high school senior you would like to nominate for this award, please visit henriettarec.org to download the application, and the deadline for submission is Tuesday, January 23rd.
Great, thank you. Hats off to the town crews who've been putting up all the holiday lights and decorations.
Very pretty.
Gorgeous. Hats off to Josh Duncan, who created our fabulous giant menorah. There will be a menorah lighting ceremony. I believe it's December 12th.
Yes, Tuesday, December 12th at 6 o'clock, their reception at the rec center.
Right, thank you. So a lot of good fun season coming up. Unfortunately, the town newsletter was delayed because we didn't get all the material in. That's in the process of being put in place. These last few days, I've not had any time to work on it because this was a very full agenda. But hopefully that'll be going to the press on Monday and then coming out the weekend after. Any other comments, additions?
No.
I'm hearing none. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
Hearing no objections, meeting adjourned. Thank you and